They're doing this like choreography with their cutlerography. I can see that none of you, this is a movie. Like if this was a play, that would be one thing, but it's a movie. I can see you're not cutting anything. Hi everybody, my name is Robin. I am your uncle. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. This is Robin Reads It for Filth, where I read a book and then watch a movie or television adaptation and I complain. I'm going to be reviewing part 1 of the movie adaptation of the book Wicked by Gregory Maguire. Incidentally, originally the first adaptation was a Broadway musical that has now been adapted into film. So I'm going to be touching a little bit on the musical. I've only seen it once, but we'll talk about that a little bit. So Wicked is the story of the Wicked Witch of the West, where she's made into more of a sympathetic character, one that we're supposed to sympathize with. That's what sympathetic means, Robin. I'm tired. Hold on, I'm going to drink some more coffee. That's good stuff. So given that Wicked Part 2 is now in theaters, I thought that I would do a review of Wicked Part 1. Wicked is a book that follows the Wicked Witch of the West. If you haven't seen Wizard of Oz, you're not going to get any of these references, so highly recommend you either read the book or watch Wizard of Oz, which I will also be making references to. It's the story of the Wicked Witch of the West as told by her perspective in a world that is not as straightforward as the Wizard of Oz would have you believe. Take that as the book or the person, either way. A girl who grows up with green skin and is ostracized from society because of it, and how she becomes more and more disenfranchised with the idea of fitting in and starts to realize that maybe the people that she wants to fit in with aren't the kind of people that she wants to associate with. How she was scapegoated. It also follows her relationship with Galinda, later known as Glinda, at school. And the school is called Shiz. Elphaba, played by Cynthia Erivo, and Galinda, or Glinda, the Good Witch, played by Ariana Grande. Jonathan Bailey playing Fiyero. We also have appearances from Michelle Yeoh as Madame Morrible, and Jeff Goldblum as the Wonderful Wizard of Oz. So now, with no further ado, we're going to review Wicked, Part 1. So it opens with a shot of the iconic Black Hat, and they all start singing and, rejoicing that the Wicked Witch is dead. Ariana Grande, Glinda, shows up in a big bubble and confirms that yes, in fact, the Wicked Witch is dead. No one mourns the wicked. If you're going to hear any singing, it's going to be me because I am not getting copyright claimed, okay? I am still sore about the School of Good and Evil getting pulled. She starts talking about how it must have been very difficult to be her, and starts to talk about her inception. So we see that her father is the governor of Munchkin Land, and he goes off on a business trip. And while the cat's away, the mice will play. Ooh! Oh, good. Oh, it's starting to look real good already. I'm very excited. I'm not looking for an Elphaba kind of green. I'm going a little bit more emerald slash jewel-y. A jewel? Is it a jewel tone? That is my jewel impression. Please don't come for me. So we see the mom having a sexy dance with someone who gives her this kind of green elixir to drink. Now, it's not overtly said that this is essentially why Elphaba is green. Because the mom drank this on the night of her inception, impregnation, whatever. Conception. Conception is the word I'm looking for, not inception. Wow.
Is it possible? Of course not.
So because of the night of her conception, she took this green elixir. Her daughter came out green. So when Elphaba is born, she makes everything in the room float because they sort of threaten her. In the book, I believe she has very jagged teeth and bites the midwife. I'm really glad that the movie BIPOC codes Elphaba, because in the book, there's a lot of imagery to say that, like, you know, she is of color, and the play really came short by continuously casting white women in the role of Elphaba. So I'm very glad that they cast POC people to play not only Elphaba but Nessa Rose and the mom. So I really, really love that. She's being ostracized for her skin color. Why would you have a white woman play that character? Other than the obvious racism. Okay. I fucking love this. So essentially, Elphaba was raised by her nanny, Dulcie Bear, who is played by Laverne Cox, fucking legend. So we meet Nessa Rose, who's playing Nessa Rose. Both of the actors are, in fact, wheelchair users, which I love. It's like people who aren't in wheelchairs can play characters who aren't in wheelchairs, but people who are cannot. You know, like when Bryan Cranston played that wheelchair user in that movie whose name I do not know. People were really pissed off because it's like, why aren't you giving the disabled community a chance to play ourselves? Like when they gave Jeffrey Tambor the role on Transparent, it's like there's so many trans actors waiting in the wings to play trans characters, and you just had some guy play it. Anyway, so I'm really happy about that. I fucked this up, so I have to fix it. So bear with me. I'm going to be doing a cut crease. A cut crease is essentially you like outline where you want. The drag queens tend to cut the crease a little higher up, but I'm not going to be blocking my brows, so I'm not doing that. But essentially a cut crease is like you make your outline of what you want the outside to look like, and then you put concealer on the inside to make the crease more defined, or to essentially change where the crease is, like I said, for the drag queens or drag kings or whomever, drag performers. And then once you have your base established, remember last time I said that if you use white it's going to be more effective? That is why I'm using white here. And you essentially just redraw the crease that you want, and you cover that up in the color you like. A lot of the time the cut crease will have glitter. A lot of the time. I'm not using glitter this time, but I think that we will all enjoy how this is going to turn out. I am optimistic. In the book, she is not in a wheelchair. She simply has no arms. I mean, I understand why they would change that, because it would be difficult to find someone who is armless to play that character. I don't know how I feel, honestly, about the fact that they changed it to someone in a wheelchair. Like, I guess it would be easier to find someone in a wheelchair. They probably didn't even get someone disabled. They probably just got someone who could sit in a wheelchair. Oh, right, they did, because anyway, I'm not going to give it away for the second half, but I have a feeling it was like a casting issue. But yeah, essentially in the book, she can walk, but she has no arms, so she has really bad balance. It's obvious that the dad has a favorite, and it is not Elphaba. Okay. Gonna do, once again, it's hard to know what the shape's gonna look like of the outside before the inside is kind of done. So I'm going to blend this a little bit. Yeah, nothing's stopping you from just redrawing your lines and then putting the concealer back. That actually looks pretty freaking good. I like that. So they burn the effigy of Elphaba, the effigy. Someone asks Glinda before she leaves whether she was friends with the Wicked Witch of the West. And her answer is, yes. I mean, I knew her. I mean, our paths crossed. And then we go back to when they were at school. So we see the school for good and evil. I mean, Shiz University. We meet young Galinda. She's called Galinda at this point. And Bach from Munchkinland. Bach is clearly enamored with Galinda. And Galinda is clearly not interested, like, even a little bit in him. He's just not that into you, bro. And then we meet Elphaba, who causes a scene just by being there. And she's obviously gone through this whole, like, you're green rigmarole, because she has, like, a preset script that she says.
No, I am not seasick. No, I did not eat grass as a child. And yes, I've always been green.
I'm with you. I am with you on that one. Yes, I am non-binary. No, I don't miss my boobs. Yes, I've always known on some level. No, I am not confused about my gender. You know, stuff like that. This kid says, I don't see color.
I don't see colors.
That just kills me. That is so fucking funny. Don't say that. That's not good. First of all, yes, you fucking do. Because you wouldn't say that if you didn't. You wouldn't feel the need to say that. Second of all, not seeing color is not necessarily helpful, because then you're going to be completely insensitive and unaware of the things that the people that you are addressing have to go through, and it makes you insensitive and a little bit ignorant looking. So, you know, just shut up. Okay, so Daddy gives Nessa Rose the silver slippers. This is fun because in the Wizard of Oz books, the slippers were silver. At the time that the Wizard of Oz was written, there was a debate as to whether there should be a standard of gold standard or silver standard in terms of like the US Treasury. And Frank L. Baum really thought that silver should be the standard, and so he made the shoes silver, and he made the road gold or yellow. In the Wicked book, I don't think they actually say what color they are, just so that like whatever idea that you have in your mind of what color the slippers are, that's the color that they are. I don't know if they mentioned it, but their mom died, so these slippers used to be the mom's. Just want to talk about Elphaba's micro braids. Wow. Oh, they're beautiful. Oh my God. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. She is gorgeous. So Daddy tells Elphaba to go and sort of make sure that Nessa Rose gets settled, even though she doesn't want to, and Nessa Rose doesn't want her there. So as she goes to hang out with Nessa Rose, Miss Caudle, which is a very apt name, starts to wheel Nessa Rose to presumably her room, and Nessa Rose is like, please don't touch my wheelchair, which is true in real life. Please do not touch people's wheelchair without them explicitly giving you permission. They are able to wheel themselves where they need to go. They don't need you to push them. They're not children. You would think that these are things that people would know not to do, but they don't. And as Elphaba is trying to explain to her why this is super ableist and how it is upsetting Nessa Rose, she gets emotional, and a bunch of tables and chairs kind of explode. Now the headmistress, I believe she is, Madame Morrible, shows up, and she says that she was the one who did that. She basically covers for Elphaba. Okay, so this eyeliner is a lot different than I had anticipated, but it's too late now. Madame Morrible asks the student body who can house Elphaba, and Glinda, not listening, volunteers, but she's really just trying to get Madame Morrible's attention because she wants to be part of her class.
Come with me.
Of course.
Not you.
I didn't get my way.
Madame Morrible tells Elphaba that she might even get a chance to work with the wizard, who makes everyone's dreams come true. And so she is very excited about this, and she thinks maybe he'll, as she says, de-greenify her. So cohabitation with Galinda is challenging. And there's this musical there's this musical. It is a musical. There's a musical number about how much they hate each other, and it's a great song. And listen, I am a theater kid. I don't know if that came off.
What? You? No.
And even I find this scene, it's a little much. That was a lot.
That was a lot, Robin.
Like, they're doing this, like, choreography with their cutlerography. I can see that none of you, this is a movie. Like, if this was a play, that would be one thing, but it's a movie. I can see you're not cutting anything. I don't know who choreoed this, but they really like stomping and marching. So we meet Professor Dillamond, who is played by Peter Dinklage. Professor Dillamond is a goat. Now, in this world, animals speak. They speak, they converse, they can teach classes, they can live relatively normal lives, except for the fact that it seems as though they're starting to become persecuted because they are blamed for the famine that happened many generations ago. It's insinuated that he should not even be talking about this because it's sort of a taboo subject about rejecting animal culture. Now, I don't know if this is supposed to be obvious at this point, but this is a allegory for the Holocaust. So if you didn't catch that, this, I'm going to tell you, that's what this is. It could be, unfortunately, true of a lot of different historical events, some of which are happening right now. And so as Dillamond is continuing in his class, he sees something on the board, on the chalkboard, that says, animals should be seen and not heard. This is kind of feeding into the idea that animals should be kept in cages and they shouldn't speak. He's so taken aback that he accidentally breaks something on his desk, and he tells the class to adjourn for the day. And everyone leaves except Elphaba, who stays behind to make sure that he's all right and to help him clean up, because she understands what it's like to be different. And it's a really nice moment. They establish this like kinship, and it's quite beautiful. In the book, Dillamond was actually doing research to kind of prove that animals have the capacity for critical thinking and for, the same kind of emotional intelligence and abilities as humans on like a scientific level, versus trying to get humans to empathize with the plight so that they can sort of mobilize and do something, presumably, with their education. And honestly, I think that the way that the musical goes about it is better than the book, because it's like, it doesn't matter what kind of scientific proof that you have, they're not going to believe what you say. I've come up with scientific proof that trans people exist. Jesus! There's proof. Look, like if you look into all the different chromosomes and the way that Jesus. Okay, but there is irrefutable proof that transness. But Jesus! So in one-on-one classes with Madame Morrible, we see her manipulating Elphaba for the first time. Elphaba is having difficulty sort of emotionally connecting with her craft. So Madame Morrible full-on just asks her what happened in class to upset her. Presumably she was the one who wrote it on the board, honestly. There's something that happens in the book that I'll get into later. But presumably she knows all about it. And so she asks Elphaba about it, knowing that she would get upset, and it helps her to connect more to her magic. Yay! Normally I would do some black eyeliner on the bottom, but the thing about black eyeliner is if you do it in the waterline, I never am able to find a way to do my waterline without having it goop out my eyes within the first hour. So mascara will have to do. So Elphaba goes to see Dillamond after hours and catches a secret animal meeting where they talk about animals all across Oz who are losing the power of speech, who are being rounded up, who are leaving because they're afraid. And He catches her, but he knows that she's safe, so he lets her in. And she says that they should tell the wizard about what's happening, because of course the wizard would probably want to help, right? Wrong. Dillamond tells Elphaba to be careful who she talks to about this, and in doing so, he bleats at her. So, not good. As she's going back, she bumps into this very charmingly annoying guy with his talking horse that we never see again. And I don't even think he apologizes to her for bumping into her. Charming and disarming and alarming rhymes. It turns out that he's the Prince of Winky Town. And of course, he is going to be our male lead. In the book, Fiyero is kind of an outcast, or rather, he's like very soft-spoken. He doesn't have a lot of friends, and he is kind of just a loner from what I remember. Also, he is a POC. So that is a qualm that I have with his character, not to mention the fact that he's a 43-year-old playing a 17-year-old kid. University, maybe he's like in his 20s, but he's not in his 20s. This guy's 40-something. So Galinda, finding out that there is a prince, immediately entrenches herself with him. And then Fiyero kind of does this musical number called Dancing Through Life, where he tells everyone to just not care and just dance through life like he does. That is a typical white man thing. Dancing through life. He dances in the library and kicks a bunch of books. How dare you, sir? And so he decides to orchestrate a dance. It's like underground sort of dance club, literally underground dance club. And Bach decides to invite Galinda. And she manipulates him into asking Nessa Rose instead. She's like, oh my gosh, the person who invited this poor girl who never gets to go to dances would be my hero. So obviously he goes and does that. Galinda is getting ready, and her cronies find this black conic hat. And she says that it's her grandmother that sends her hideous hats. I'm not sure if it comes from The Wizard of Oz or if it's from Wicked, like the book, but they have all these words that are like not quite one word and not quite another, and I kind of love that. So her cronies tell her to give this hat to Elphaba as like a joke, and so she gives it to Elphaba, and Elphaba actually freaking loves it. They go to the ball, and it's this very CG'd. It's beautiful, but it's CG'd as all hell. Seriously, what is with the stomping? So Bach sees Galinda with Fiyero, and he decides to lie to Nessa Rose and say the reason why he invited her there was because he thought she was so beautiful and not because Galinda told him to. So they have this nice dance, but Nessa Rose is under the impression that he likes her, and he doesn't. So Madame Morrible shows up and basically says that Elphaba threatened to quit if she didn't allow Galinda to join her class. And she gives Galinda a wand. And Galinda feels really bad because she more or less set Elphaba up to show up to the dance and look stupid. And that's exactly what happens. Elphaba shows up and everyone laughs at her, and she starts doing this like interpretive dance. Galinda, feeling really just horrible, joins her, and her cronies try to stop her.
What are you doing? Stop.
No. And that's what you should do. So she dances with Elphaba, and this slow music, slow version of Dancing Through Life plays. And this is kind of Elphaba's version of Dancing Through Life. And everyone joins her, and it's like a really beautiful moment. I'm not going to lie, this part made me cry. It was beautiful. It makes me cry every time I watch it. This is the face of someone who has never been accepted before, and it just, it hits me here. It hits me right here. Yellow teeth. We adopted a new little baby, And he's a sweetheart, but he's a menace. So Galinda and Elphaba started to bond. So they go back to their room, and Galinda says she wants to share secrets. She tells Elphaba that she's going to marry Fiyero, but he doesn't know yet. And then Elphaba tells her that she is the reason that Nessa Rose is disabled. And this is true in the book as well. The mom, when she saw that Elphaba was green, she took a bunch of drugs, different drugs in the book, I believe, but still drugs, to make sure that her second child would not come out green. But what ended up happening is it ended up disabling the child. Nessa Rose was born prematurely, and she ended up having birth defects.
That was the milk flower's fault, not yours.
Now, it's more or less the same in the book, except I think that the drug that she takes is different. When she was put under by the drug, and she never woke up. I think in the book she dies in childbirth. So Galinda decides that she wants to give Elphaba a makeover.
Makeover, 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 makeover.
And this scene is really the scene that, for me, clinches Ariana Grande as a comedic genius, because she is so funny. She kills this scene because, yes, she can sing. Of course she can sing. And she can act, but she's so funny. I really love this scene. It's so good. This is the song called Popular. I can't play any of it. I'm going to get copyright claimed. She's trying to turn Elphaba's coat into a ball gown, and she can't do it. But what she does do is she puts a flower in Elfie's hair. They go to Dillamond's class, and he lets them know that he has to leave Shiz, and he more or less gets arrested. I say arrested. It's not arrested. It's disappeared. And then they bring in the new history teacher. And the history teacher brings in a lion cub in a cage. And he says that it is for the animal's own good that it's put in the cage. And Elphaba does not agree with this. And she gets upset. Poppies in the room put everybody to sleep. Poppies. Fiyero's the only one that doesn't fall asleep, so he and Elphaba leave with the cub. So this part is actually in the book, except rather than talking about the cages, they want to do experiments on the lion. They call the lion Sir Burr because he shakes a lot, because he is, spoiler alert, the Cowardly Lion. So Morrible comes across the class and realizes that Elphaba has put the entire class to sleep and writes a letter to the wizard. So there's some romantic tension with Elphaba and Fiyero. So he runs off to bring the cub to safety, and she goes back to school. In the meantime, the wizard has gotten back to Elphaba and has sent her a balloon inviting her to come to the Emerald City. It starts to rain. This is the first indication that we get that she is allergic to water. This is sort of like the chain of events that's going to happen that will eventually lead to her demise. This is my new baby. His name's Chico, and he's a menace. So Galinda and Elphaba meet at the train station, and Fiyero then meets them as well. And he and Elphaba start talking about how they haven't stopped thinking about what happened to Dr. Dillamond. And Galinda, feeling left out, makes an announcement. So I failed to mention that Dr. Dillamond pronounces Galinda's name as Glinda because he doesn't have the front two teeth. So at this moment at the train station, she announces that she's going to stop going by Galinda. In honor of Dr. Dillamond, she's going to go forthwith as Glinda. And Elphaba says, "Why did you do that?" And she goes, "I don't know." In the book, the reason why she does this is because Dr. Dillamond is actually murdered by Madame Morrible's TikTok machine robot. And she feels responsible, or she feels partially responsible, because her like maid sees it, and she goes crazy. Like, that's the turning point for Glinda in the book. Elphaba actually invites Glinda to come with her to the Emerald City, and Glinda does. When they reach the Emerald City, they both love it. It's very metropolitan, which really appeals to Glinda, and it's all green, which really appeals to Elphaba. And as they arrive, there is this play talking about how their world began and how they have this book called The Grimmery. This is the opening of the play. So I think that this is a clever way for them to like incorporate this part of the story. So essentially it's the story about how these ancient beings were able to read this grimoire and they were able to like do lots of magic, but then when they died, nobody was able to read it until the wizard came, and suddenly he was able to read this book and do wonderful magical things with it. And the thing that I like the best about this is that the two main characters are played by the original Glinda and Elphaba, Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel, which I find very fun. They go in to meet the great and powerful Oz, and they see this like mechanical face that's talking down to them and scares them until the wizard realizes that it's Elphaba, and Jeff Goldblum pops out from behind the curtain, showing that he was just, you know, manipulating the face. So he's all excited to be with her, and he shows her the Oz of tomorrow. And Glinda and Elphaba choose the color of the new road, which is yellow brick. So the wizard has a very like showman type vibe here, like a very like carnival, like a carny kind of, you know, shilly, like pay attention to me, but also I'm gonna kind of lie to you vibe. Whereas in the book, he is just straight up evil. So it turns out that Madame Morrible is there, and she basically makes Elphaba read from the grimoire, and she does. And when she does that, the guard monkey named Chistery, who has been there sort of watching them, grows wings, but it looks painful and horrifying, and Elphaba screams to Morrible, "How do I reverse it?" And Morrible says, "A spell from the grimoire can never be reversed." And then it turns out that all the monkeys are growing wings. Now in the book, the way that she makes the flying monkeys is a lot more gruesome. So Madame Morrible lets it slip that they're going to be using the monkeys as spies to spy on seditious animal activity. And Elphaba realizes that the wizard is the one that's orchestrating all of this persecution against the animals. And he says, "Yeah, I'm just giving the people what they want. They want an enemy." Like, why did you need me? And then she realizes that the wizard has no power. In the book, she does steal the grimoire, but she is unable to read it without like years of translation and attempts. But here she can just open it, read it, and she's a natural. Madame Morrible keeps calling Elphaba dearie, which I really love because that's what Elphaba calls Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. And so Elphaba steals the book and runs away. The wizard threatens the monkeys' families and says, "You have to catch her." Glinda goes after her, and she tries to convince Elphaba to go back and, you know, change her mind and, you know, just work with the wizard and get everything that she's been dreaming of. And Elphaba says that she can't. She can't ignore these things anymore. She can't work for a liar. She can't contribute to the persecution of the animals. And she tries to give herself wings, but instead she enchants a broomstick, and that's where she gets her flying broomstick. So Morrible announces that Elphaba has stolen the grimoire, that she is wicked. Ah, yeah, wicked. Oh, not that kind of wicked? Oh. So Glinda gives her the infamous cape. She's like, "Oh, you're shivering." And so she gives her a cape. She flies away, or she tries to, but she starts to fall. And as she's falling, she sees herself as a child in the window of the building. And I found this so beautiful. I found this so compelling. It is one of the elements that they added for the movie, and I do think that it was a good choice. Made me cry. And she reaches out to grab her young child's hand, maybe finally accepting who she is. And in so doing, she grabs the broomstick and is able to right herself. So Elphaba, in like the final sort of musical number, warns the wizard that nothing's going to bring her down. And they capture Glinda. Madame Morrible broadcasts throughout all of Oz saying what happened, or rather her version of what happened, saying that a wicked witch has stolen the grimoire and wants bad things for Oz, and her father has a heart attack from the news. And that is the end of part 1. Oh yes, there's a second part. There's a whole other movie. I liked this movie. I thought it was long. It was too long. It's a musical that's maybe like 3 hours total, and you turned it into 2.5 hour long movies. I get that you wanted to like enrich the story, and I think that they did that, but it was just so long. I feel like they could have cut 30 minutes of fat from it, but that's just me. Overall, I liked the movie. I am more annoyed with the second half than I am with the first half, just given that like the entirety of the book is supposed to be about like the politics of Oz and Elphaba's sort of slow radicalization of Elphaba, and it's like over the course of 20 years, and this is not that. But that's the musical's fault. That's not the movie's fault. The costuming is absolutely exquisite. I could have done it without some of the stomping in the musical numbers, but overall, I really enjoyed it. It's a beautiful movie. I just think that they could have cut out some of the fluff. That's just me. Let me know what you thought of my final look. Who here has read the book? Who's seen the play? What do you think? Do you think that the movie is better? Do you think that the play is better? What are your thoughts? The second one is out in theaters now, so I think I'm going to wait until it's on streaming before I release my review. In 2 weeks, I'm going to be doing a Christmas review, so stay tuned for that. If you know anyone who likes books, who likes movie reviews, who likes makeup, send this their way. So I really appreciate anyone who has been liking and subscribing. Please push the like button, please subscribe, and I will see you in 2 weeks. In the meantime, be queer, read books. Bye. Why am I doing this? Well, just make sure you don't do this. You know, less valuable. I'm not talking into the mic. What am I doing? Dr. Dillamond, I need another brush. Luckily I have one down here. I didn't even know if that was true. I just said it and then reached down and I was right. Uh-oh. What is my cat doing? Kills this scene. Ooh. You gonna marry your burgeoning chocolate. Poppies. 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 Alright, how many times did I have to say poppies just there? A lot. La 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 la, you'll be popular.